Hello, greetings. This is going to be a Gorean topic. And the topic I want to discuss today is basically the idea of being recognized as Gorean by others. And whether or not it is necessary to be Gorean, to be recognized by others, and also whether or not we have a sort of duty to recognize others as Gorean. Now, I'm sure that quite a few people that was part of a certain debate on Facebook might think this video is about them. Let me assure you it is not. It is a general topic that comes up now and again in Gorean forums and so on and so forth. So while the debate might have inspired me in the form of reminding me, it is not directed at you. Now, first let us discuss the idea of whether or not we need others' recognition to ourselves be Gorean. This was discussed pretty extensively on the Color Me, that are now Color Chat, I think it's Color Chat, the new forum is now. But anyway, on the Color Me forums, it was discussed pretty intensely. And I feel that no. For me, being Gorean is about individuality. So I feel that if you recognize yourself as Gorean, then that should be enough for you. Now, of course, if you're going to be part of the Gorean community, others will have to recognize you because that's a community. Then there has to be some sort of consensus that you're accepted. But to internalize the Gorean ideals and consider yourself to be Gorean, all you need is your own recognition. I do not agree with those that feel that, no, you sort of have to fit into the club and be recognized by others and so on to be Gorean. It's about it's a lifestyle about individual choice, about you as an individual. That's the center of it. You living your life with honor in accordance with your inner nature as an individual and reaching for greatness as an individual. As such, if you feel that the Gorean philosophies fit on you, then and you want to claim the name of Gorean, that is enough. You are recognized as a Gorean. Congratulations. You do not need anybody else's approval. Because there's a difference between the Gorean community and being Gorean. So, yeah. Now, of course, for me, there's a lot of people that don't recognize me as Gorean. I mean, first of all, I dare to question the books. I do find a lot of value within the books. There's also sections of the books that I don't agree with, that I feel doesn't fit with the rest of the philosophy, or are in other ways wrong, and I don't follow those, and I can also be quite vocal in criticizing the books. Also, being a woman that definitely do not dress like the ideal free woman in the books. I wear spike chokers, I wear earrings, I'm a goth. I do a lot of things that does not fit with the idea of a free woman. And so there's a lot of people that do not recognize me as Gorean for that reason. It doesn't bother me. I feel that fit me, that the idea of being Gorean fit me. But Gorean is not all I am. I'm also inspired by Viking philosophy, Old Roman and Greek, Nietzsche, loads of these ideas. Crowley's ideas are actually pretty similar there too. And all of these ideas have shaped my philosophical values, if you want. But I think that for me, saying that I am Gorean fits me better than saying, for example, I'm a neo-Viking or urban primitive or any of those others. It fits me better to recognize myself as Gorean. So I recognize myself as such. However, there are definitely Gorean groups out there that does not recognize me as such, and as such I am not part of those groups. Now, yes, I do really enjoy it when some of the various Goreans that I deeply respect recognize me as their pair. That is heartwarming. It makes me think I'm doing something right, but it is not necessary for me to recognize myself as Gorean. Now to the debate I briefly mentioned, because it was about whatever or not. Basically, it was turned into a nasty argument because there was this girl who asked if one would recognize a slave owned by a non-Gorean as a Kachira. And I'm one of those that say no, I don't. I don't see a slave owned by somebody who is non-Gorean as Gorean herself. The only possible exception is if she is owned by somebody who is very Gorean-ish, who is has very similar ideas, but might not like to use the word Gorean about himself. And because then she will live close enough to it, and if she's then Gorean trained, I might recognize her as a Kachira. But if you have somebody who has a completely different value set, I don't feel that a slave can live out those ideals, no matter how she is trained, and as such is not a Kachira in my mind. But like I also told these people then, why does my opinion in this matter? If you feel yourself is Gorean, why should it matter if I don't see you as Gorean? And I've seen a lot of debates like this that turns into shouting matches about, do you recognize me as Gorean? Or, of course, also the opposite of it. You're not Gorean enough. Like, I had this wonderful comment once that was, you're not a Gorean because there are no witches on Gore. Yeah, there's no cats either. Not any computers that you're writing this on. But anyway, I think we've become completely obsessed by this idea that we need recognition by others to be Gorean. And to me, that doesn't really fit very well. I mean, recognition from others feels good. And it definitely a lot of use in a society, because we are social animals. We like being in a social setting. I mean, I wish there were a lot more Goreans in Norway so that we could have meetups and all of that. That would have been great. I'm sort of, I know a couple, but for the most part, I need to communicate with other Goreans through the internet. I would love to have others to talk with. I mean, have my free companion, but he's more on the urban primitive side than the Gorean side. He sometimes uses the term Gorean and sometimes uses the term urban primitive or neo-Viking, and so on and so forth. I have him, and I have a few friends that are Gorean, but for the most part, and I mean, I would have liked to have that society thing going, but it's not necessary to follow the philosophy. If you are the last human being alive on the planet, you can be Gorean. It's not about others' recognition. And I think this desperation after getting the recognition of others has sort of led to this idea that you have to recognize others as Gorean. That you are the bad guy if you, for some reason or not, do not recognize somebody. Because I've seen this a lot of times, that when somebody asks, if somebody do this and this and this, would you recognize them as Gorean? And I would say, no. For me, that's not Gorean. So no, I probably would not recognize that person as Gorean. And then they go ballistic. And I feel that if they had a healthy view of it, that they are Gorean or not, depending on their own views, and it's nice if others recognize them, but not necessary. If they had that view, then they wouldn't be so upset if somebody would not recognize them as Gorean. I mean, ever so often somebody says, you wear spiked chokers, you cannot be a free woman. So ergo, since you recognize yourself as such, you must be a slave, or you are not Gorean. Or people that say, oh, you're a BDSMer? You happen to do BDSM, and you recognize yourself as free now, you can't be Gorean. And I mean, I just recognize what they're saying. I say, well, I don't agree with those opinions, and then I move on. I also don't care what ice cream flavors they like, or if they approve of the flavors I like. I mean, recognition feels good, but it's not necessary. And if we get too desperate about recognition, we also get very, very, very upset if somebody doesn't give us that recognition. Here's the thing, people. Goreanism, Gorean lifestyle, whatever you want to call it, it's not a protected title. Anybody can slap the name Gorean on themselves if they so feel it fit. As such, you do not need others' recognition to be Gorean. Be Gorean whatever way you feel like, but also you do not have the right to demand that others recognize your way of being Gorean. Of course, I like tolerance, and I have no problem with, for example, somebody I don't recognize as Gorean being part of a Gorean online community or come to a Gorean meetup or anything like that. I think it's great with having different opinions, and I think there's very many ways that the books can be interpreted. I mean, I had a debate with my companion here the other day, and there's some areas that we are completely different ideas about how the books should be interpreted. And he basically said that the opinions I had about something was completely unoriented, completely against the philosophies. Well, I felt that his opinions were completely against the philosophies. So it's definitely open for interpretation. And not everybody will recognize your interpretation. And there's also a lot of people within the Gorean lifestyle that are very my way or the highway. But here's the thing, it doesn't really matter. You do things your way. At the end of the day, it's about the individual. You do things your way, I do things mine. And if you happen to be able to learn from one another and recognize one another, awesome, that's a bonus. For example, I'm not very much, I don't have a huge focus on the idea of a natural order. Or rather, I do, but my idea of a natural order is perhaps a little bit different than a lot of Goreans. Because for me, a natural order isn't the goal. A natural order is the result. Basically, I believe that everybody should live according to their own inner nature. That's my idea of a natural order. And since most women, for example, are submissive, and most men are naturally dominant, if everybody live according to their inner natures, then an idea of most men being dominant and most females being submissive will naturally occur, because that's how it is naturally. But I don't feel that there's anything wrong with those that doesn't fit into the statistics, because it's not a goal in and of itself that women should be submissive and men should be dominant. You can fine have a Gorean woman who is dominant and a Gorean man who is submissive, because for me, natural order is living according to your inner nature, not following an ideal about how gender roles should be. The ideal should be following your own inner nature, and if your inner nature is different from the norm, awesome, enjoy. So, yeah, and a lot of people disagree with me on that, and that's fine. We do not all have to agree. And I also come from a Gorean perspective, more from, basically, I have taken more of the Greek Roman philosophy, the Viking philosophy, and Nietzsche, and less of Ayn Rand and less of the ideals around anti-feminism. I also have extensive training within Crowley's telemas system, which I also think fits into that idea there, and I come more from it from that direction, which a lot of Goreans don't agree with, or they have other focuses. And as such, I mean, what's the issue? I have my ideas, they have their ideas, and if they don't recognize what I do as being Gorean, that's no skin off my nose. And I think that's a more healthy way of looking at it. Basically, be Gorean the way it fits you. You by all means follow the philosophies. I'm not saying it because I can almost guarantee that at some point I'm gonna have somebody screaming at this video saying, "Oh, you are advocating watering it down and so on and so forth and a free for all." No, I'm not. What I'm saying is that there's different ways to interpret the books. There's not just one valid interpretation. And that if you feel that you are interpreting this in a way that fits you, in a way that's right, follow what interpretation fits you, and don't give a shit about what others think about it. The goal should not be to fit in, the goal should be to follow the philosophies as you understand them. And if your goal becomes basically gaining the approval of others, then you have lost your way and need to go back, reread the books, and try again. So yeah, I hope this video has been useful for you. Have a great day, and blessed be.